Welcome Patternistas! I thought today we would do a mystery unboxing. I've got some pattern files that got delivered and I thought why not go through them. I was going to say one of them, I think this one was £4 and this whole book was £5, so that's going to be fairly cheap. I think there's about 100 in this one supposedly on eBay. So that's about 4p a pattern. And if you stick around to the end of the haul, I thought we'd look at a magazine from May 1955 called My Home. It has some vintage knitting patterns in it and a very interesting interview with Jean Metcalfe, who was the radio presenter who described the coronation dress to the world. So with the Platinum Jubilee celebrations coming up in a few weeks' time, I thought this magazine might be an interesting take on that day in history, along with the fashions from the 1950s. So stay tuned for that bonus at the end. I've already taken them out of the outer wrapping so you don't have to look at my unpacking. So let's dive in. This should just be a pattern book of Hayfield patterns. So I don't know if it is because the previous owner sorted all of their patterns by brand, or if this originally came from a yarn shop as a book that was consistent with all of the patterns at a particular time. So I'm excited to see what patterns are actually in this book. The other one is supposed to be about 80 patterns, so about 6p a pattern from 1960s onwards. So I decided to take a chance when there wasn't very many photographs on eBay, so it very much is a mystery as to what we've got in these, but let's hope we've got something interesting. There may be some duplicates for what I've already got in my pattern collection, but it's always fun having a look to see what other people have collected. Now the Hayfield pattern book, she did say on the listing they were all Hayfield. And now Hayfield actually is a brand started in December 1923, believe it or not, so they're nearly 100 years old. It's now part of the Sadar group, so I think these are mostly from the 1970s, or that's what at least the seller thought in the case. So let's have a dive in and see if there's something interesting. I have to admit at the moment I quite like to knit 1970s stuff. They tend to be chunky, they tend to have sort of the right sort of fit, and there's always some lovely patterns there. Why don't you grab your knitting needles or a crochet hook or just something nice to drink, and let's talk knitting patterns. Hopefully we can see that on the overhead cam. On the Hayfield pattern book we've got a babykin pattern. Oh, and this one's actually crochet, so we're starting off well with a crochet pattern rather than knitting. Child's cardigan or coat for an 18 to 19 inch, so DK weight here. Pattern number 1223. Ooh, it does look like the pattern book is running sequentially. Maybe it did come from a yarn shop after all. Before you ask, the QK is Hayfield's quick knit wool, not another weight of yarn. The 12p on the left-hand pattern certainly suggests the 1970s. Two sets of kids' patterns here, both cardigans and a round neck one. No, we're getting a bit of shine, so I'll try and adjust them so you can see. Babykin pattern here for a dress with an interesting pocket in it, and another pram set, both from Babykin. The first two ladies' patterns here. Some interesting colourwork stripes on those outerwear pieces. In DK wool up to 44 inch. Next to we have is some more babykin patterns for some shawls and some covers. Two more children's patterns here with a lovely polar bear on the right hand side there. A wonderful colourwork design for the winter there. A child's hooded top here, and it has an option for a collar version and some more crochet cardigan. A very pretty DK polo neck jumper and a skateboard champion jersey there for sure. This time some knitted tops and jumpers for some babies. Noting the cute rabbit in the babykin brand. I love pattern number 1241 there with a hood and an asymmetric fastening. Nautical inspired striped t-shirt and vest top there on the left too. Some more babies booties there in the baby boutique. And some more vests and cardigans for the kids. Feels like a few patterns have been inserted. A cute striped hooded top. But don't those cardigans remind you of Starsky and Hutch? Have a look for Sadar and Sunbeam's similar patterns for the Starsky cardigan. Two more jumpers there from Hayfield. And this time we've got a short sleeve tee and a twin set. Oh, and I love the hooded top again with the stripe theme. And a mother-daughter chunky cardigan knit there. And this time we've got a full family pattern with polo neck, round neck, and then a zipped cardigan. Some kids' cardigans as well for school, for the girls on this page. And then we've got two for the boys, the little cricket vest top there as well in the Filmora DK. Some more children's knits and a Icelandic inspired jumper. Some more stripes. Definitely was the year of stripes in Hayfield's patterns this. Oh, we've got a sweater and overtop there. And Aran cardigans. 60s pattern there at 9D, I think, from Hayfield. And another cardigan. A father and son knit this time. And a halter net top as well as the shawl there. Cute kids themed one, and then one that looks like the guy from Bucks Fizz. Wonder if that was the case. Some more kids patterns and another hooded striped top. Definitely the stripes were in. We've got, oh look, a machine knit from Hayfield pattern in this one. And then a chunky cable again. Another one that looks like the guy from Bucks Fizz a little bit there. And another very typical 70s pattern with that brown mustard and white garter stitch stripe. Polo neck with a coloured edge, and I do like that knit sideways garter ridge top as well. Some more cardigans with some hoods and pockets, always important. And then it looks like they're using the pearl bumps on the colour work there to give you a different colour edge. Some more cardigans for his and hers. Another one that looks like the Starsky jumper for a child, this time up to 34 inches. Another mother-daughter matching hooded top. A lovely textured jumper here now. And another mother-daughter pattern. And a gorgeous, probably my favourite so far, jumper there with a featured shoulder and garter on the cuffs. I would love to hear in the comments if you've seen a vintage knitting pattern today that you'd like to cast on. And you can always search for the patterns on the reselling sites like eBay or Etsy. More comfy leisure wear there to knit. A girl's twin set to crochet there. Now that's a statement collar in 1294, isn't it? It's a 40-inch chest, and then I have to say I do quite like 1297 as well. A statement lace collar on pattern 1298. Pattern 1639 shows that men can wear mohair well too. Some more girls' patterns here in a smaller size of a polar bear. A well-used babykin pattern there, obviously knitted and put in someone's bag. And some more children's patterns there with that trike and a lovely textured balloon sleeve on the 1814. Some helmets, as they call them here, but hats with little ties under the chin in different styles, and some dolls patterns. And some chunky Aran knits there for the whole family. Some more textured sweaters there, some featured in Women's Weekly again. Some plastic props, I hope, for those fisherman jumpers, which go up to 46 inches there, I see. Some more children's school sweaters and a father and son matching set there in 4-ply. Back to some little kids jumpers here with some buttons at the back. Some more school jumpers. And isn't the model in 979 feeling like she's had enough? But it is a very pretty pattern. Some more children's and babies' prams outfit here to knit. We've got the full set. Another new baby set. And who do we think that is? In a very stylish cardigan, I think it's the model Glynis Barber, aka Makepeace from Dempsey and Makepeace. Anyone remember that TV show? Stylish pattern. Some wearable art, and another one that's supposed to be a look-alike. Doesn't she look like Britney Spears? Although I think that would have been later. Only one more pattern left in this book. What do we think it's going to be? An 80s pattern, I think, to finish with there. Moving on to the second pattern book, let's see what mysteries it has inside. So we're starting there with the Sidar pattern, a nice 1960s one, I would say, with the 9D. And then a bedspread, which I think's been crocheted in knitting cotton, it says there, from Coats. And a gorgeous colour of cardigans, not cardigans, jumpers, in fact, with cables on there from Emu. Do love those colours. We've got Robin, and ooh, looks like it's got a lightsaber on there, but no, just the setup of the side. Some Mariner patterns there, and a gorgeous Sidar with an interesting button flap there on the zipped cardigans, his and hers. We've got an older model here, modelling a cardigan and a family pattern, again from the 60s. An interesting Melandra pattern. You don't see many of those around. And one of the Peyton's Easy Care books for babies. We've got some more kids' jackets there from Peyton's for babies. Some interesting men's jackets there. Or jackets? What am I doing? Jumpers today. Ooh, a mushroom core jumper there from Robin, and a family pattern, simple pattern there for polo necks. Anyone follow the mushroom core aesthetic? One for them. We got panda pattern here and a family pattern of vest tops there. So we had polar bears in the last one, pandas here. We've got a Robin by Amanda Lane pattern here from the 60s and some dolls patterns there. And some kids tops there, beads and with the coloured cable, I think, embroidered on top rather than colour work. Some straightforward men's patterns and some lovely colour work there for his and hers. Some interesting cardigans there from Wendy and Spun Lane for the whole family from the 70s. Ooh, and haven't we got a little Pexie here? Gorgeous inspired one there, and some gorgeous polo necks too. Some more family patterns and his and hers there from Sidar and Robin. Oh, and some summer patterns here with some little vest tops. Lovely, gorgeous little ones there. Oh, and Sidar back maybe in the 50s even there with number 1519. And Lavenda's family pattern again for all the sizes and polo necks. Another Robin Amanda Lane pattern there. Interesting one with some lace work around the top and waist detailing. We've got 100% acrylic advertised on that poodle pattern. And some more baby knits and cardigans. Some bed jackets, very popular in the past rather than your robes. Some cardigans there from Sidar and a lace emu pattern. Ooh, doesn't the Sidar one remind you a bit of Madonna with the lace gloves on there and the lace puff sleeves, and an odd ounce book, always useful for your leftover yarns. Lovely, more family patterns there from Robin, and an interesting Sidar one from some cable knits. Ooh, isn't the Greenock pattern with that collar spectacular? That's a bit unusual. And some kid patterns there from Lister. A lovely Sidar pattern with some beads on. 1950s evening wear from Sidar, and a 14-inch doll pattern there, I see. Some growing up in Sidar patterns from 60, I think from the 50s there for some boys' tops. Some emu patterns here, very similar but not quite the same, but lovely lace patterns, different details there. Some hats that are not quite hats. I don't quite know what you'd call those, but interesting style with a button that secures at the back, and some more poodle patterns. Isn't this a gorgeous pattern from Robin? I do like that one with the detailing there, and some more Aran books from Peyton's. 12 designs it says there, you can see front and back, and some Fair Isle designed sweaters from Woolworths back in the 60s. That was the start of the Icelandic jumper fashion. Some very tiny baby booties there, even ones that look like they're full boots with socks. And some more kids patterns. Men's waistcoat from Sidar and a quick to knit there from Greenock. If you think this is too fast or you'd like some more time with the pattern, let me know in the comments below. We have some long emu cardigans with and without sleeves and a vest top from Weldon's there. Some favourite toys for bizarre knitting or kids' presents. Full family knit again, very basic one there. We've got a baby book from Harmony from the 60s, I would say, with some different patterns there for crochet and knitting, I think. It's another Harmony Aran book. Someone here was clearly very keen on their Aran knits. Some interesting patterns there on that Aran book too. We got a babykin Hayfield, so we thought we'd left all the Hayfield in the last book, but no, there's some collected here too. Some more Woolworths Aran patterns and some baby jackets. Isn't that an interesting mix that someone's collected back in the day? I promise you some bonus content at the end, and that's where we've got to. The My Home magazine had a tagline, "For the woman who loves her home." It generally features kids' and ladies' knitting patterns, and it is an amazing view into the social history of the 50s and 60s, with lots of adverts and articles. And this magazine is from May 1955, and as mentioned at the start of the video, it had an interview with Jean Metcalfe, who recounted her outside broadcast for the BBC in the World Service of the Queen's coronation and showed readers around her home with her husband Cliff Mitchellmore, another well-known BBC broadcaster. Jean died in 2000, and as a contemporary it puts into context the Queen's service to the nation. The article was written by Mary Benedetta, and it's a delightful article and is an interesting retelling of the events just 2 years earlier. The delightful interview has Jean describing the coronation broadcast as her favourite creation. The article was celebrating her as the radio personality of the year in 1955, and I'll pick some of the interesting bits from the article. I hope you enjoy this. Jean had been told that she needed to be up at Buckingham Palace for 6:30 in the morning, so she got up at 4 a.m. in Surrey to be able to make the journey. She recounted, "I thought it would be pointless for me to be there so early, as the palace wouldn't be up. So I decided to arrive at 7. I remember being very fortunate as I crossed the courtyard at Buckingham Palace and saw the crowds pressed against the railings. I was thinking this is where I would be if I didn't have this job which took me inside." She recalls she went up to the Privy Purse entrance and rang the bell, but there was no answer. Time passed and she waited. Out of the corner of her eye, she could see all of the faces at the railing beginning to smile. Meanwhile, it was raining quite heavily and my best clothes were getting soaked, and I knew that my hat didn't look like a hat any longer. Clearly she hadn't brought an umbrella that day. Then, just as she was wondering what to do next, a policeman came round the corner. He explained that nobody was on duty so early at the Privy Purse entrance and took her around to the back entrance. There she saw a great deal of activity and realised the palace had probably been awake all night. Now, famous words from inside the palace early that morning were broadcast to the world. Now, I'm sure I won't be able to do it fully justice, but they were. "And here is a world in waiting, a little pool of silence in a world of sound." Those words apparently embarrassed her later when they were replayed to her at the BBC studios. She explained, "Everything about the coronation day was so intensely moving that I was caught up in the atmosphere and I couldn't help myself." With many not having access to a television, her voice on the radio described the mood of the day to listeners so strikingly. She told the reporter that one of the happiest results from the broadcast was receiving letters from people overseas expressing their gratitude for making them feel like they were there. She said, "I think I had the nicest bit of the whole coronation commentary to do, as I saw the Queen before she set off for the Abbey. It was an intimate family scene that happened before all the splendour and ceremony of the procession.
Her fellow commentator and her were placed in the royal page's retiring room, overlooking the inner quadrangle where the Queen was to step into their coach. The door opposite in the same corridor led to the robing room, and they saw Prince Charles and Prince Anne go in there before the Queen set out, and heard their squeals of delight when they saw their mother in her wonderful dress. Now, young Prince Charles did actually go to the Abbey, but Prince Anne was considered too young to sit through the whole ceremony. The flowers were laying on a table, she reminisces, close to where Jean was commentating from, and she recalls they were the most exquisite bouquet she had ever seen, and the lovely scent of lilies of the valley will always trigger a memory of the coronation for her, she said. Jean Metcalfe said the most memorable moment was when Her Majesty the Queen came out of the robing room. Her description was Her Majesty looked breathtakingly beautiful, and there was a spiritual aura around her that gave a beautiful light to her beauty and made her seem almost immortal. Now, isn't that a description to live up to? Listeners all over the world heard her describe the dress as they waited for the first glimpse from the waiting cameras. The female reporter surmises that only a woman reporter could have described the dress so well as Jean did. With a spontaneity, Jean described the pearl and diamond diadem, the smaller crown, as almost as though drops of the summer rain had fallen and crystallized for all of history. Jean remembers how nervous she was at the start of the broadcast, but that was quickly dispelled by the Queen's example. Standing near to Jean, she said, were the ladies from Norman Hartnell, designer, who had sewn and embroidered the coronation dress, and the housekeeper from Balmoral, who had known the Queen since she was a little girl. On the way past, the Queen stopped to talk to them. Jean, seeing the Queen so calm and thoughtful of others when she was on her way to such an overwhelming experience, it turned out to be a 3-hour coronation service and a 2-hour return procession, never mind her lifetime of service to the Commonwealth, put everything Jean was facing that day with the nervousness of an outside broadcast into perspective. Can you believe that the radio broadcaster had the responsibility for signalling to the whole procession that the Queen had set off in the gold carriage? Jean had been instructed that it was imperative that as soon as the coach moved off, she had to say, "The coach moves," so that the rest of the procession could all start moving, left foot first, apparently. If you were about to march, do you start left or right-footed? That day was coordinated with precision timing, with everything being planned from the day the Queen had ascended to the throne in February 1952. It had taken months of planning alone for the broadcasters for the television and radio services, and Jean had had to attend meetings to plan all of the handovers to make sure no one repeated any of the fill-in material if there were long waits in the procession. Mary Bendetta's interview then goes on to talk about her marriage and life with also fellow broadcaster Cliff Mitchell-Moore. It's a very interesting article. In addition, in the magazine, we've also got a number of different adverts for things that certainly would be of interest to knitters, from both the knitting needles, the wool, a moth killer, and certainly some other interesting fashion and stories. But in addition, there are 4 different knitting patterns in this magazine. 2 short sleeve tops, one a scooped neck jersey, it says, and another cardigan. And then there are 2 children's patterns in here as well. So it certainly has a huge variety in this magazine. Do you collect old magazines as well with knitting patterns in? I would love to hear in the comments if there was something that you thought was particularly enjoyable in the knitting patterns that you'd want to cast on, or if you also enjoy collecting unusual patterns. So until next time, Patternistas, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy knitting!